Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, March 27th, public board meeting of the Kingston City Land Bank. My name is Mike. I serve as the executive director. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than per speaker. With that, I hand it over to the board chair, Mr. Daniel Cantor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's do this roll call statement of quorum. I believe we now have a quorum. Daniel Cantor, board chair.
Aaron Chilowich, board member.
Nate Hannigan, treasurer.
Bob Dennison, vice chair.
Christina.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute. You
Christina.
can mute your lips though.
Christina Boucher, board member.
Good to see you, Ethel.
Hi, Ethel.
Ethel, board member.
Okay.
And Bartek, if you
Hello.
can.
Hi,
Hello.
Bartek Sardai, board member.
Done it again. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Can we vote to accept prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube from February's meeting?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All in favor of approving the prior meeting minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Pretty sure. Thank you. This is new. Vote to approve the meeting agenda.
You know, I saw this and then I read into Robert's rules at the New York Land Bank Association meeting. It's one of those technical things that I thought Bob would actually appreciate.
I guess.
Approving the agenda could be an additional step that the board has
Approving
reviewed and
the
approved.
agenda, the thing we've done every month for.
Oh, right.
Because I shouldn't write an agenda that you don't approve, so that was my thinking.
Well, I don't-
If people don't like what's on the agenda, we could change it.
I'll entertain. the
Exactly, right. You don't want me going, oh, wow.
I wish I could debate the incident.
That's what they.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve this meeting's agenda.
So moved.
Why does it take so long?
Yes, second. Second.
It goes to whoever's talking.
All in favor of approving this meeting's agenda that we're about to have?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Love it. Reason to vote. All right, our chair announcement. I don't have a ton. It's been a busy month. So as everybody knows, our marketing period for the first two Legacy City houses closed on March 18th. So we send a hearty thank you to Pat Stone, who is currently working through all of those applications. Sounds like they're doing a great job. And so the current plan is to have the lottery at next month's board meeting and award these two contracts. So super exciting. Great job, everybody, with the campaign. Mike and Kyle, thank you for figuring out the direct mailers. That I think that was really huge.
That was all Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle. No thanks to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, I believe this was perhaps our most successful marketing campaign to date. So awesome work, team. In other news, we have sold 108 110 Henry. It only took 4 years, but we did it. We got there. Like a whole year just to buy it from the city. So that's super exciting. The plan of the purchaser is to do a childcare center. I've been told as of this morning that they are already in there doing stuff. So very cool to hopefully have facilitated the project. Otherwise, rumor has it, we're just doing this now, that the city will be voting on, or the council will be voting on the disposition policy with the city of Kingston on April 4th. So we appreciate the finance committee for moving it forward and encourage your representatives to vote in favor. It's a big deal, it's a big step, and hopefully they will have the wisdom to do it. In other news, we are trying to get a meeting with folks from the county on the books. I have nothing really to report other than the information that maybe probably is happening between now and our next board meeting. So we will report back with any new findings or discoveries or,
Did they request this meeting or this? Yes,
yes,
I think it's Wednesday at noon.
could be, could not be. They keep
It's
it-
been changing a lot.
It's new 3 times just today. But yeah, we look forward to meeting them when possible. And, oh, I don't know if this is something to really discuss right now, but Mike and I were talking about potentially whether this 6:30 Monday night board meeting is still what we want to be doing for our board meeting date and time. So we can change it. It's just what we've done from the beginning for no real reason. So I don't know, I guess. Does anyone have any gut reactions or? Okay. So yeah, this kind of goes for committee meetings too, like we can change stuff. I think the hope is to not do meetings after business hours in respect for our tireless staff and avoid weekends, but yeah, if there's dates and times that work better for people, please don't be shy. I think that's all I really have.
Do you want me to do a doodle poll or board meeting, something?
Yeah,
Would that be helpful?
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna be doing a doodle poll, please respond. That's the worst thing with doodle polls. Only 2 people respond. All right, we have our public comments period, but I see no members of the public. So I think we can skip. And that brings us to you.
Hey,
Do it.
cool. Good evening, everyone. I have a slightly longer, sort of fleshed out section. I'm trying to hit the right balance each month. And one of the things I thought I would do is give a 1-month look back where we're in each of these 3 categories. So we have our pre-development section, our pipeline. I'm jumping forward a little bit, but as you mentioned, Daniel, that hopefully we get a favorable vote on the 4th. Immediately after, we'll be looking at 17 total properties. That's up from 3 last month. So that's a lot. There's a lot of detail there. There's properties that we've looked at before and have not chosen to move forward with for various reasons that I think are still valid. But so we're up to 3. Out of those 17, 2 of those are single-family homes. One of those is a 2-family home. Once the city completes its quiet title action that is scheduled to be completed sometime around May. And then 14 are vacant lots. So I believe ADC will probably take this up and more updates at the next board meeting. But that was some context. Also possibly new foreclosures from the city of Kingston later this year. I strongly recommend that everyone read the surplus money proceedings memo that's in the board package as it relates to what that may look like in future years or in the future. It's something that's going on in one part of the country, not in New York, but it may change what foreclosures look like in years to come. And then finally, in the pipeline category, we have our NCST policy. Thank you very much, the Finance Committee, for bringing it to the board tonight. Hopefully that is satisfactory, and then we can finalize our application today. In the pre-development category, we're at 7 properties, down from 8 last month, because Daniel mentioned we sold Henry Street, which is great. Of those properties, we have our Legacy 2 project, which is Gill, Grand, Hasbrook, and Chapel. That is currently scheduled for the closing with Grand, Hasbrook, and Chapel is April 19th with the city of Kingston. So that's our scheduled closing date. $3. Stacy, I hope we can find it, but I think we can. In advance of that, and in advance of the LBI 2 funding, which we're anticipating an award in May, we're putting together RFPs for the following items currently, probably more to come: cleanouts, preliminary architecture, temporary electric, lead testing, asbestos testing, followed by architecture, legal, and GC, but those are further down the line. Similarly, on 3rd Avenue, I sure can. Cleanouts, preliminary architecture, temporary electric, lead testing, asbestos testing, followed by a later date, architecture, legal, and general contract.
What's preliminary architecture?
I think so the plan that we've been discussing is to learn from the past, sort of how we rushed in various ways. Like there was a lot of pressure on the contractor to give preliminary pricing on Legacy Cities 1 because we had to move forward with an application and that made it difficult to get to closing. And then similarly, there were issues with the design committee getting all this stuff dumped on them. It was like last minute,
I
really.
don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. So Daniel,
So I could have described it as a budget estimate process.
I think what it could be is even before a budget estimate process, after cleanouts, we would have an architect go in and do measurements of the building to provide to the design committee.
So it's a site survey, it's existing conditions.
Exactly, you're right. Yep, existing condition survey. That's what I'll start calling that. Thank you. Make that note. So existing condition survey. And then you got lead testing, asbestos testing, architecture, legal, and GC. So similarly, on Third Avenue, we're also waiting for the LBI 2 funding award before we spend any more money than we've already spent on the projects. That would be starting with possibly, probably not existing conditions on Third Avenue, but more of a preliminary architecture, massing, zoning, a preliminary thing to get feedback from the board and kind of show options under current zoning and new zoning. So I think we need professionals to help us with that. I think it would be very light, their touch. And it would be maybe a month or so of investigation with feedback from the board. That's our thought on that.
We just had to do an RFP for that, or?
It depends on the pricing. If the pricing is over $10,000, we do. If it's over 5, then we have to ask for 3 bids. If it's under 5, we do not.
Gotcha.
So I guess we'll start asking people and getting proposals.
I put a feeler out.
So you can
Exactly
feel
what.
exactly. Well,
That's really, the concept plan is really, in essence, for us to look at.
totally. And respond to, and the difficulty is we don't know if the zoning, where that's going, so we have 2 tracks to look at it.
Architect knows everything about the zone.
If there is one person on the call who's more well-informed than any of us. Zoning. So in addition to that, or followed by that, once we get through that phase of the project, I would recommend that we look at architecture, civil engineering, legal, followed by general contract. Might be a few more in there, but along the way. So that's the current plan.
And I should really know this, lead testing just sort of has to be done, like, no choice, right?
It's a lead survey. You have to, just like a phase 1, you have to figure it out.
Spoiler, there's lead.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, there's the foundation stuff too, you know, think about
Foundation, what about
it.
it?
We're gonna build a building there, right?
Oh, I,
What are you like?
been on Legacy City.
we're not aware of any lead on Third
We
Avenue.
don't know any lead on there.
Legacy City, yes, that.
There might be some old pencils there.
So the other 2 items under this pre-development section are Hamilton. We have a fully executed contract. We expect to close within 70 days. So currently the purchaser is seeking financing and a pre-qualification letter. It's a requirement to close with us. So more to come on that, probably more updates at ADC as this tracks, but I think we're probably 70 days out from closing on that. And downstream, no updates. New funding category, we are up to 4, oh, sorry.
We have an RFP out for freight.
We absolutely do. Yes, we
You
do.
probably did.
I actually wasn't, I put it in under,
We're not AD, we're
but.
AD and C, that's
Why
okay.
am I talking? Unless they're real.
Okay, new funding updates, we're up to $4.65 million that we are applying for, or have applied for, or have secured. This is up from $4.15 million last month. The change is a $500,000 additional ask that we hadn't discussed last month because we weren't aware that it was available. Congressman Ryan, whose office has reached out and has expressed at least some interest in the dialogue around it. I don't think it necessarily means anything, but just the magnitude, that's 4.65 million reasons to keep moving forward with this.
That include our $1 million from the city.
Including our $1.1 million ARPA/SLFR stimulus funding. And that was my first item to talk about. No major updates other than we are waiting on a contract from the city of Kingston. We expect it imminently, and as Bob has noted, probably internally, and Stacey has said as well, get some policies, and Nate has said as well, everybody said, get policies put together. We should start being prepared for that. We don't know exactly what the requirements are yet, but that's the update on that. LBI Phase 1, I know the naming convention is somewhat confused. So we have Land Bank Initiative Phase 1 Requisition 2 funding. So thank you very much, Stacy. We're ready to submit that in April, but thank you for sending over what you did. That's another $50,000. That's the second requisition out of 4.
So it's not round 2, it's rec 2.
It's requisite.
Not to be confused.
No, it's confusing.
It's confusing, but it's confusing. So that is in process. That will take place in April. That's $50,000 more for operating expenses. Thank you, Stacy, for your help getting that together. Phase 2, which is LBI phase 2. I just talked about phase 1, requisition 2. So LBI phase 2 is $2 million. And Kyle was amazingly instrumental in living with me on this for, I think we lived together for like a week on Zoom. We know more about each other than we did at the beginning of the week. Thank you, Kyle. We put in a great application, an amazing application for both projects. The funding is balanced between each, between both Third Avenue and Legacy Cities 2. A predominant amount of the funding, predominant amount of the ask is going towards hard costs on Legacy Cities 2 because it cannot be used for new construction. So we have 2 buckets also of pre-development expenses. This is what we're waiting until May 1st. And so that's for each project. And then there is an additional ask for acquisition on Third Avenue, which could be good. We shall see. Estimated award in May. So that's my update on that. And then finally, I touched on the congressional funding. We applied to Senators Schumer and Gillibrand and also Congressman Ryan for $500,000 each. I believe the budget is scheduled to pass April 1st, so we should know something very soon. We might hear nothing, which means we have nothing. So we'll see. But
We always have each other.
we always have each other. That's true. And together we can do anything.
The state budget is April 1st.
The state budget is April 1st, but the congressional budget, when do you?
God knows.
Okay, so
No.
at least I'm not totally wrong. Finally, in my other category, I wanted to just note in the board package, there's very much a draft municipal preference policy that we were looking at earlier this month. It's probably an evolving conversation, but just wanted to socialize that as a concept. Another thing that I had touched on was that the New York, the 23 budget, the last version, the only version that I've seen, the Senate had put in a budget that allocated $50 million for New York State land banks again. That's great. The House had put in for $10 million. That's good. I don't know how the sausage is made, but something will come out of it. And the sense that we're getting, or what we're being told directly at the Land Bank Association from Albany, was that we do not have a tilted halo as an organization in this whole kerfuffle around affordable housing and mandates and requirements. Land banks are outside of that, according to this information. So we'll see some more money next year is a good thing. So LBI phase, whatever, or whatever the program is called, would be what that money would turn into. But right now, we're just in LBI phase 2 and phase 1. Phase 3 is still part of that $50 million. Phase 4 may be part of whatever comes out of this year's budget. Makes sense in my head there.
And the state budget will be late.
Okay.
No, it will be.
Cool. Other thing that I put in the board package, I think it's worth looking at, are the New York Land Bank Association's 2023 legislative priorities, just to see what people are advocating for. There's some interesting stuff in there. They're a great organization. They get a lot done. So something that we're working on with them. 2 other items. The Rural Housing Coalition of New York is holding an event in Lake George in fall. I don't know much more about it than that, but should folks want to go to a land bank event, this might be the only one that the New York Land Bank Association does this year. So
What if we tacked a board retreat right onto that?
it's just on cue. Yes.
I've heard Lake George is beautiful.
Remember?
No, I spent way too much time working.
Lots of mini golf.
What's that really nice hotel?
The Sagamore.
So, yeah.
That's what I want.
We'll be at the side. Could be.
I've only ever seen it on TV.
Some aspire to is the Fort Henry is
I was
always.
talking about the retreat.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm fully on the retreat now.
I've only been there in the dead of winter to try to go ice fishing, and I think I stayed in the worst hotel in Lake George. So
Okay, so-
All of that sounds
Which is
good.
St. George's, Lake George itself.
it's pretty rough. But that's it. Those are my updates.
Do you know what the needs?
Not yet. They didn't know yet. They're looking to do it last week's meeting.
Good 5 years, we just.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, any questions, discussion before we move on? Okay, Mr. Dennison.
Oh, yeah. Pretty quick. Report construction updates, Bob, Owen's away. Owen and Kyle have great tabulations of where we are with our ongoing construction projects, and I would refer your attention to them. I think they're well done. German is still a little lagging behind, and we knew that, and it continues to be, but it's not a dramatic problem. Everything else, if memory serves, looks pretty good.
Yep.
And kudos to Kyle and to Owen for putting that work together. It really makes it much easier to figure out where we are. So that's the first thing. So thank you. So review that. It's, worth a couple minutes. Legacy City Finance got Kyle's name on it, so I don't have to talk about that. Kyle can. Legacy City financing updates. Which is the chart, right?
Yeah, it's just the chart, and it's actually pretty similar to the chart that I presented last month. That was preliminary and anticipation. Jesus, anticipation. Wow, this anticipation of.
Expecting.
Do it all the time.
I don't do public speaking too often. Of round 5 of requisitions, and then we did round 5 of requisitions. So the last chart I presented was just a draft. This is the final version. We're working on Rec 6 right now, and I'll provide an update when we have that. But yeah, this is basically no new information to report at this point.
And I just let me interject a comment. We need to write these processes down. I mean, we're doing it, and that's great. But when we get this letter from the agreement from the city and from the feds, we're going to need to have this written down. So remember what you're doing and write it down. Okay, you don't have to reinvent it. It's invented. We just have to write it down. Yes, auditor, right? Should appeal to,
Yeah.
it's like a CPA thing. You got to write down what you're doing, and then you can do whatever you want, but you got to write down what you're doing. And we have this. Thank you, Kyle. Franklin RFP is out.
It's out.
That's
It's
great.
in the board package.
When is
Yeah.
the due date?
Stacy's on the page. When's the due date? It's right there. 19th of April.
It's 19.
I did. Okay.
So we'll get
Is my
lots of
screen big
bids.
enough?
I can't remember how to get home. I remember dates.
So lots of bidders, I'm sure. It'll be great. We'll get a bargain.
Owen's getting pretty good response.
Oh, good.
Yes.
KDA, where?
Yes. I think KDA actually did revised plans reflecting current as-built conditions that are in the RFP. So,
Oh,
yeah,
that was good.
Owen's doing a great job.
Oh, it's doing a great job.
He is doing great. So so we're breathlessly awaiting the proposals that'll come in. We'll get to look at them and figure out what to do. Hamilton sale, we decided at the meeting to offer an extension because it's almost there, but it's not there yet, and it would expire before he's there. So he's close enough, I think, for us to be comfortable extending his license to do that work. And that's all I have. I don't know.
So do we board vote for, I think we did last time for the extension?
So let me do whatever you want with the extension.
I'm fine with that.
Within limits.
Should we do,
I believe in checks and balances.
Write it down.
I really do.
if we do through September 30th, are we definitely like, the next
We
2
we
weeks?
should close within 70 days is my current estimate, which is conservative. So September would be, we can then.
Do we need to vote to do that?
I think we did last time. Why not? 90 days or whatever.
Yes, we did
September.
last time.
Give me a date. No.
Because it currently expires at the end of this month, right?
Correct.
So
6 months will be September, September.
what if we do 6 months and we don't have to talk about it? So,
For a 6-month extension.
Second.
all in favor of extending the licensing agreement on 24 Hamilton for 6 additional months? Bartek, I'm not sure how you vote, but either way, motion passes.
He's an outlier.
Moving on. Okay,
The only one on that is, I feel like in 6 months, if for some reason he's not there, I mean, what's a bigger conversation?
yes.
Right, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
He will spend a lot of money by then. I'm
yes,
sure he's gonna
He
want to.
already has.
yes.
Yeah, I think it's been true and we're being true. It's sort of out of his hands. He's doing all the things he's supposed to do, so.
Thank you so much. You know, actually,
I did, yeah.
No sidebars, please. Okay, that brings us to our treasurer's report.
Cool, so, well, I'm not gonna be on video, I just wanted to be able to share the reports. So, let's do this. Everybody can see that? Cool, so. Okay, so let's start with our profit and loss for legacy cities. I guess in general, let's start with the finance report. So our profit and loss through February 23 on the LLC, pretty much business as usual. The main expense. See what better. The main expense was just operating expenses, bank charges and fees, but so pretty much business as usual. The big thing that you'll see with LLC now that we've shifted to how we're displaying construction costs is on the balance sheet, because now you'll see all those construction costs balanced across for the increase in the asset value. So the biggest change from January to February on this balance sheet was you'll see the big decline in the cash in the bank account. The vast majority of that is due to construction costs, which is why there's a big increase in the asset value. If you look at the bottom, from 577 and change to 657 and change. What else? Cash was also used to pay some of the January bills, so we'll see that in the change in accounts payable. So you'll see that big decrease in the accounts payable from 165 to 76. But yeah, overall, everything's just sort of trucking along. Most of this is documented in Kyle's chart as well.
It's a big improvement.
It is. We have Stacy to thank for that. So
Yeah.
can't take it. So this is huge.
You like seeing it month over month, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very.
Well, how many months do you want me to go out? Like, you know, we're gonna get to a point where it's not gonna be an easy report to look at, so you guys can decide.
I think 5 is fine like this.
Okay,
If it's on page.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Our passion is formatting. That's
So-
great.
Yeah. So now let's go to the organization profit and loss. So here's that report from January to February. You'll see there was the big 50K from the LDI funding. So that shows up in the grants income. Again, profit and loss other than that is pretty much standard. There's no big shifting from January to February. And a lot of our construction costs aren't reflected in here anymore, so you won't see that here. Just keep scrolling down. So we have it all on the record. Again, this profit and loss will basically almost always, barring like a huge influx of funds from ARPA or some other funding source, this will almost always reflect a negative net income month over month because we're consistently drawing down on grant funding we got at the beginning of the year,
It's last year.
or last year,
Yeah.
at the end
So
of
yeah,
last
end
year.
of last year, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, thank you, please jump in if I'm wrong, I said probably.
Okay.
All right, going to the balance statement, let's go back to the top. So again, the biggest thing on this from January to February is you'll see the big drop in the checking account. Most of that you'll see later on in this report is because of the closing on Third Avenue. So you'll see that down below. But all the assets looking good. So again, when we scroll down here, we've got all our properties. Henry Street is still on here because that was not.
Sold in March, it closed in March.
It closed in March,
Yeah.
so we'll see that in the next report. But now that Third Avenue is on here, beyond just sort of our preliminary expenses, you'll see that big jump from 4,200 to the actual purchase cost. Everything else, pretty much standard. Nothing huge to note. And again, even though there was that big decrease in cash, it then is reflected as increase in asset value on Third Avenue, which is why the total liabilities and equity is pretty much the same. Any questions? I'm getting it slowly.
Yeah,
but surely.
that's good.
All right.
Would you like a motion to accept? Sorry.
Well, there's a couple other things. That was just the financial reports, so I'll stop sharing the screen now. Couple other things on just the general treasurer's report. First, just wanted to say again, how great you saw it just now, the updates to our financial reports. The next big thing is, I'm gonna try and put together like a sample of more of a streamlined report that can be reported out on at these meetings that will show more along the lines of like what I think we want to see versus something that might fit general accounting practices, because a lot of stuff in the balance sheet is like not really like the key information that I think we want to know in these meetings is more along the lines of those spreadsheets that Kyle puts together for property. So I'm gonna try to, if I can find time, which is the big question, work with Stacy to start putting that together. But again, I can't say this enough. Huge thanks to Stacy for putting all those reports together and cleaning up this format. Other things, the investment policy, I think we're pretty close to a final draft now, so in the hopes, it wasn't quite ready for this meeting, but plan is to finalize that draft and also hopefully have at least one recommendation for the board of an account to use. Again, the goal of that is just to take some of our cash that we have on hand sitting around that we can put in a safe savings account and at least earn some interest on while it's sitting there waiting to be spent on construction costs. So TBD on that, stay tuned. We didn't have CST.
Should we go for the treasurer's report?
Or I guess it's under the same finance audit, or I guess it's separate from my report, so we'll do that first. So that's it, that's all I got. Yeah,
I'll make a motion to pass the treasurer's report. I'll second it.
All in favor of accepting this month's treasurer's report, expertly delivered, beautifully prepared. Motion passes. I think unanimously. I think you can. Great. And NCFT.
So. That's in the board package, right?
It is.
Okay, so we sent around in the board package the NCST policy. Did we do it at 2:50?
Yeah.
For your week.
It's too big.
Yeah, so this was revised from the last time we talked about this, essentially authorizes Mike with, I believe, with Daniel's, one of your approvals, or one of ours, one of our approvals to, if there was a property that was to come up and we needed to move quickly through NCST, it authorizes up to 250,000 to acquire that property. I guess just wanted to open the floor for discussion, if there's any questions.
I'll just say that the 250,000 number was what was on the draft that they, or the model that they circulated to us. I think it was based on the Albany Land Bank or what? Yeah, based on the Albany Land Bank's resolution to join this program. We had talked, I think, last time this arose in the board package about a lower limit, just given uncertainties about cash on hand, but because the prices of the homes that we know came through this program last year, if we would have been eligible last year, were all, I think, above 200,000, we decided it made sense to keep the cap at 250, with the understanding that, of course, Mike and Stacy and team would, never spend money we don't have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's generally a good policy.
I do think that just to again kind of set the tone, I don't think there'll be a lot of volume through this. So I really appreciate everyone scrambling for the thing that happened last week to look at a potential acquisition. It might look like that, but I think it'll happen really rarely. So thank you for trusting me to do the same process in the same way.
And if this passes, we should just put together like a blank, because it'll just, what this says is that the executive director or the finance committee chair has to have, basically provide written approval. We should just put together like a blank memo with a signature line and just set, an address, place for the address, place for the date, and we took that around, put it on letterhead, just have it ready to go for when it comes up on a moment's notice.
Yeah, sounds like a process.
What?
Sounds like a process.
Better talk to me then.
Motion to, do we have to motion to vote on it first?
I think we. Well, yes,
All right,
then I'm supposed to ask if there's any discussion. Then
It's good. So is there a motion? You made a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion. Now you can discuss it.
any discussion about the NCST, which is page 29 of your board package. It's a nice one pager. Thank you, Stacy. Nice to see you. Yeah, any discussion?
motion to vote?
Sure.
Yeah, vote on the question.
I think we can vote that. All in favor of passing the resolution to participate in the National Community Stabilization Trust's REO acquisition programs? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're all together. Okay, cool. Done. Are you finally happy? Okay, anything else from finance?
Nope.
Cool. Communications, community engagement and fundraising?
Yes, so we had a relatively short meeting this month that we met just the day before the marketing period ended. So part of what we talked about was what worked and didn't work and kind of what we can hold on to for the next round. I think there was consensus that the things that we should definitely repeat include the direct mail marketing, and maybe trying out some different ways of targeting through that. Speaking in front of large groups of people is always good. So whether we can get in front of other church and religious groups or other organizations in the city, we think it has a bigger impact than the door-to-door kind of flyering probably. And then I think from the conversation, one other thing that arose was the possibility of, which we talked about previously, of doing bus, how do you?
Oh, wrap a bus?
Yeah, putting advertising on buses,
Right.
which Kyle and Mike priced out. And it actually seems it's a few $1,000s to do it for a couple of months. But it actually seems feasible. I mean, we'd have to pay for it because there isn't a marketing line item in our budget, so we have to come out of pocket for it, about $3,000 to do it, but we have to design it, but it would essentially be on UCAT buses during our marketing period. And so I don't know if we need to vote on it, but it's something to consider. We can talk about it. Mike, want to say anything about it? Or?
I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool that we're zeroing in on local marketing efficiencies, like the EDDM mailing is really targeted. And the buses that this would run on would be the ones that are running the Be a Road Hero campaign, because they basically stay in Kingston.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it because marketing is hard, so.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely more targeted than just like trying to set up Instagram ad and like geographically limited to the area where you just don't know what you're getting. So that was good. I think in the end, we ended up in the marketing period with what, about 70 something new applicants, right?
73?
Yeah.
Plus 20 between campaigns.
And 3 people who had already pre-qualified, so we look forward to that. Did we want to talk through, one question, should we talk through all the process for the lottery, or is that not?
We will go over it in detail before the lottery
Okay.
takes place. I think maybe let's hang off just
Okay.
in case we have any big ideas in the next
Few
weeks.
I think the other thing too was we were trying to see how many people are actually in the lottery
Yeah.
before complicating it unnecessarily.
That makes sense,
We've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, okay. On the fundraising side of things.
Actually, wait, before we go on.
Of course.
Could I add like a couple of quick comments?
Of course.
Feedback I got from others.
Yeah.
As like handing out stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So one I got was, people loved our little cards, but there's like a lot of
Yeah.
words on a small card.
I got that too.
And I think that
Yeah.
we need to like have a QR code and like a big thing that's like, I mean, obviously, I don't know if there's fair housing restrictions that prevented us from doing this, but like, it should be very clear from the front, like, these houses are available for purchase, like, buy a house, like, something very clear, and big at the front. That was one thing someone mentioned to me that I think is good. And then another good feedback I got was, depending on timing, if we're able to time our campaigns with big local events. So the St. Patrick's Day parade was like a couple weeks ago. And like a bunch of local organizations had a little, I know it would be a heavy lift for us to like, have us all stand on the back of Daniel's pickup truck or something, drive through the parade, but like, imagine if we were in the parade with like a big sign and like, instead of throwing out candy, we were like throwing out like little flyers. I was like, seriously, that would be really cool.
That's a good idea.
So, I don't know, those are 2 things I wanted to mention that folks said.
Those are both really good ideas. The next campaign we're thinking is gonna start probably late summer, right?
I think it's August-ish.
Yeah, so we can keep that in mind, trying to what fall events we're gonna.
I think Dana should build a Oh, the soapbox there.
Daniel has to build something.
Okay, but we had a soapbox car shaped like a house. Imagine the marketing potential.
Gotta make sure it doesn't crash though.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And on the fundraising side of things, not too much updates. There's a fundraising email that I've been promising, I promised last month that I would write, and I haven't written, I will write it. We talked about other potential donors, and I think Mike had a contact years ago with Budoff organization, talked about that, or they just generally tried to ask, who do we know who does anybody know that would be interested in having a conversation about donating to the land banks. If you have ideas, please let us know, both in terms of individuals or if there are just ways we could be marketing, ways that we could be fundraising on an ongoing basis that we haven't thought of. We are ready to hear your ideas. One thing we talked about was the potential that we could possibly use money in the same way that we bought down the price of the homes that we're currently selling. We could use that as something to fundraise against. So we could say, the board of the land bank is committing to buy down, the price of two homes, $10,000 a piece, in a matching basis. So that we raise $10,000 against that in order to then buy the home by $20,000 a piece. We could even do that, while at the end of the day, still buying down the homes by $10,000 a piece if we only raise $6,000. So, but in the absence of a particular matching, of a donor who wants to work with us right now on a matching grant, on a matching fundraising campaign, actually utilizing the funds that the board has access to is one opportunity. So it's something we can come back to, I think, later this summer, depending on where we're at financially and what the price of the homes, well, we know what they're gonna be, but I think we said we come back to it after the state releases its new mortgage product. That's what it was. Because the state is supposed to release a new mortgage product sometime this year, hopefully after the budget is finalized, and it's going to be a new low interest product that will hopefully make the homes more affordable and just feasible for applicants. I think that's it for today. Does anybody have? If anybody has ideas on fundraising, thoughts, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not here. I'm open to your ideas, and yeah, thank you all.
None of us know what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's why this is so much fun. We're figuring it out as we go.
Who is next? Our
On the agenda, I believe it's Bartek.
governance.
Governance did not meet. However, something now that we have ended our marketing period, we discussed trying to fill our remaining 2 vacancies on the board. So I am thinking about that. And I think what we did, Aaron, last time I drafted something and sent something to you for social media.
Yeah.
So I think I'll do something similar again.
Okay.
Unless anyone has any other ideas or personal individuals that can reach out to join the board, because that's typically the best way to recruit.
Do we know whether or not the people can still apply through the city of Kingston?
They can.
They can.
I check in with Summer every month or two. The city wanted to keep
It's
that.
on like the city's like admissions page.
It is. It's not on there? It may have moved, I may be wrong, I haven't checked in a while, but
Well, I guess, but you're aware if we've gotten a new
I
partner.
would be aware and not, but yeah.
Um,
We had one a few months ago, but they weren't a city of Kingston resident. And Bartek, I can do a newsletter thing to help and maybe ask if mayor would put it in his newsletter as well, if you want.
Yeah, why don't I start with drafting some language?
Okay.
And that'd be a great next step as well.
Thank you, Martin. Cool. Anything else governance related? Okay. Design committee also did not meet, though we tried to. So I'm just gonna take one sec. Christina and Nate, do you think we can nail down a time now while we're here? So
Yeah.
we all got confused, I think, because we had said that. What would it be, the second,
We were at the fourth Thursday at 3 p.m.
fourth Thursday at 3 p.m. Which is still fine with me, I just didn't have it in my schedule, like. Does that work for you? What
Yeah.
work?
Well, that would be this Thursday.
Well, my calendar tells me the fourth Thursday is March 23rd. That was, but that could be, well, I don't think it's wrong.
No, that's right. 5:30.
5 Thursdays in this month.
Well, what if? And you're out on Thursday, but we could.
Whatever works for you guys to kick it off.
Cause if you guys are available to do it this Thursday and then moving forward, we'll just do the fourth Thursday, it's already in our calendars and stuff. Can you make that Thursday at 3?
Yep.
Nate, how about you?
I shall try and do this.
Okay,
No, I think I can. That's fine.
okay, let's do it.
Will you do a Zoom thing or how do you want to conduct it? I just want to make sure.
Oh, great question. I can do this as well. Can I use our?
I can give you our login. Yeah, you can use our Zoom. I'll send you the Zoom thing so that I just want to make sure it would work. I think it'll work.
I mean, honestly, worst case, we just.
Or you can just use Zoom or a conference call.
Like the olden days.
Maybe try that just so it doesn't fail. I really want you to have this meeting.
Just do a call.
Or do a Zoom. You can do a free Zoom, 40 minutes.
Oh.
You set up Zoom. Zoom's free. Do you want to use our login? I'll give you our login. I'll give you our login. Just, if it doesn't work, then you do a conference.
I'm gonna set up the 2023 without setting up my own Zoom account. Okay, so we're gonna do our design committee meeting on Thursday. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, basically on the agenda for that meeting, I think is a committee chair, because it's our first meeting of the year. I want to talk about merch, website, feels like a big thing out there. And sort of process for Legacy City Round 2 and start thinking about their avenue, so. More than enough. So in lieu of having the meeting, I've told you what the meeting will be. Cool.
Could I just one, just a tool, not related to design committee, session. I just thought of this, the architects, the RFP for the preliminary work for architecture for Third Avenue, that RFP would not be tied to the actual design of Third Avenue, right? I mean, if we did have to do an RFP, it would just be for like this, basically massing zoning
Studies.
analysis. Yeah.
Preliminary.
This is fine.
Study.
Yeah, it doesn't
But
mean,
we're
have to
also-
be, typically architects do that.
Yeah,
It could be a
of course.
professional planner.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be.
Right, I think honestly, we're looking more for like a urban planner kind of
Yeah.
expertise for that. The preliminary architecture RFP is for legacy cities to do kind of has existing drawings.
No,
But we're,
I was talking,
Doing both.
we're doing both, yeah, but one might not be an RFP, yeah.
right, okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, the difference, the selection process, as I understand it, for a planner would have to be the best value, so there's gotta be a money element.
Yeah.
With an architect, not necessarily, you can do a qualifications-based selection, which is not money connected, it's still be consistent with the law.
Interesting.
We're
You're
gonna,
well for college.
we're gonna have you repeat that about 45 times. Cool. That's it for me, design committee wise. We still lack members of the public, so we can get that. New business, I just wanted to know, and I don't know where it fits in, but Christina, our wonderful board member, has chosen to step away from the acquisition, disposition, and construction committee. You're welcome to speak more about it if you want, but I think I'm supposed to say that somewhere somehow. So that committee now, she will be staying on governance and design, thank you. And so that committee, ADC now is me, Nate, and sorry, me, Aaron, and Bob
Not that we would like.
will take, so anyway. Not that there weren't open seats before, but the committees are fluid, so if people would like to jump ship or move or change, we don't actually necessarily encourage it, but we are always welcome to new members, so anyone can let me know over email if they want to join or leave a committee at any time. And there will be no consequences. Probably. Okay. And I think I've done it. Have we done it? Does anyone else have any new business or matters of interest to share? Right,
In record time, too.
I think so.
Yeah.
So with that,
Rest.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor of adjourning our meeting?
You have to vote on. Check Robert's.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful
Have a great night.
evening.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.
So